So if you don't know by now, I always base my track guides on the Thursday sessions because I've set them up for static conditions. So when you do your test drive, if you want to compare versus my track guides, you jump into the Thursday, January 8th session, view session, and then you pick your car from here, wherever car you have. Partly cloudy, 26, July 1st, static weather, static conditions. You just click here, test drive, and those are the conditions for the track guides. If you want to look at the conditions for the actual race, you come over to the Friday session, view forecast, and you can see here, temperature-wise, you're going to see the race starts around 2 p.m. and it just gets hotter. It's nice and clear, not very many clouds. It's just going to get hotter. So if you're not aware, iRacing, typically around noon, it starts getting, throughout the day, it gets hotter and hotter and hotter. Typically around 3:30, 4 o'clock p.m., the temperatures start to drop down. So you can see here it's going to get hotter and hotter and hotter. That's why the track guide is fairly hot, is because they expect at that time, usually my track guides are always to replicate start race time. So it's probably around 2 o'clock, 1:55, somewhere around there. Yeah, it'll get hotter and hotter and hotter for about till 4 p.m., 3:30, 4 p.m., and then temps start to cool off. And you'll see that on track temps and also in here, it just starts cooling off a little bit. So that's why the track guide for this Mosport is quite hot. All right, welcome to the track guide for the BMW M2. This is Mosport. So again, just a reminder, go in the garage. You're going to do the minus 5% power reduction, applying close, and then we go test drive. So we've got I did a few laps yesterday, or not yesterday, a few days ago. And then I did a few laps today just to test. My fastest lap was a 128.118. So let's play it and then we'll talk about it after. So that is the 128.118. So let's dive a little bit deeper into it. So coming up first corner, I like using this kind of, there's a power line or something that's going across here. It puts a shadow down. Depending on where the sun is, obviously that'll differ. But if you want to kind of base it on, it's pretty much this lamppost here. When that's kind of across and kind of where the track starts dipping down, it's typically just before that. I'd like to get on the brakes. So you'll see here, here's a power line off the throttle onto the brakes. I'm entering from a very, very wide angle. Obviously, if you have GT4s coming, just be a little careful with that. Maybe let off the throttle earlier. If you're passing a GRE6, remember they do have quite a bit of apex speed. So this straightaway might not be the best to get by a few of them, maybe one or two at a time, maybe probably more like one, and then try to get them on the next straightaways. But For a qualifying, you're gonna start braking again, like I said, where that lamppost is. As the track kind of starts cresting down, you're about 1 or 2 car lengths before that. So not super hard on the brakes. The rear end likes to step out on the braking. So I'm going to gradually arc my way into this one. And what I'm aiming for, you can see I'm still trail braking, is what I'm aiming for is these concrete patches. Pretty much almost every corner has some of these concrete patches, and I like to stick 2 left tires on the concrete, 2 right tires on the asphalt. It gives you a very good visual line representation of kind of where you should be at. So you'll see here 2 left tires, 2 right tires, and I cut over this candy stripe curb quite a bit at the end of it, and I'm getting on the power pretty early with this one. So kind of as I'm getting back onto the concrete, I'm starting to get back on power, and I'm using this to get the rear end out to help me turn into the corner. So you can see my steering input, sometimes I'm even turning left to try to go right because I'm using the power of this car and the oversteery kind of tendency to this car to try to turn myself. So you can see here, even on exit here, I'm still fighting this car, turning left all the way to the candy stripe curb. And what I want to do for the next one, this track is awesome for this corner. In real life, it goes, the elevation change is pretty drastic, so it's really cool. But I start aiming towards this hut with the blue roof. It is obviously a very blind corner because you're going up the hill. So I'm starting to come to the right to this one. But as I'm getting to the crest, you can see I'm already starting to turn in left here. What I'm doing is I'm creating a slip angle for the tires. So that way, when I want to do my most amount of left turning, the tires have already fallen off that slip angle and they're already settled into their groove. So that when you start putting in the more left-hand turning, your tires aren't bouncing back and forth type thing. If you go straight and do a sharp left, your tires are just gonna go right, and then they're gonna like bounce and like reverberate a little bit. Whereas if you just slowly load up, you can see here I'm going right, and I'm just gonna slowly load up the left hand. That's loading those tires and getting them nice and settled. So as I'm going over this crest, I'm going to start braking and go down a gear. So you'll see here over the crest, just light braking at first, then a little bit heavier, and then I'll trail off. What I'm aiming to do with Mosport is when this track opens up here, you're going to see the track opens up just slightly. I want apex, my first apex, right at this point, and I'm going to aim to get on throttle as the track dips down. So as soon as you hit this spot here, the track just dips, like drops a level, and you get some really great grip when you just kind of get on throttle here and use that to steer your rear end out. So see here, I was trail braking, now I'm doing nothing. And then as this dip comes on, I'm going to use that power. You can see the car pushes out a little bit, and then all of a sudden the rear end kind of, you can see here I'm turning right, straight, right, and then I'm slowly coming around. Uh, so your first apex is going to be right here. Get back on power into this drop. Woo! Let's go down the roller coaster. You're going to push out a little bit wider. And then your second apex is, again, a very easy visual, is where this opens up. You kind of want your left tires on the other side of this white line. That gives you the best kind of apex for this corner. Again, there's these concrete patches. So on this one, I'm a little bit more to the left-hand side of it. Typically, you want your right-hand tires, or whatever corner, depending on right or left, you want some tires on this one. But I like staying to the left of this one. If you're doing multi-class with this one, obviously if you're coming up to a GR86, don't even bother trying to send it on the inside here. Just stay behind, try to pick them off on exit. Honestly, the next straight's not even the best for trying to pass a GR86. GT4s, if you see them coming, if they're a little bit further behind, stay on your line. If you see that they're getting close and they might send something, you can do a preemptive, just staying in kind of in the middle of the track, so they are forced to kind of stay behind you. There's no way anybody's going around the outside here. This is a super dangerous corner to do that. What happens with the outside line is as you're coming across here, the camber changes quite a bit and it kind of drops off, especially where this dip is. So if you're a car on the outside and this dip happens, you're just going to end up going right off the track. Uh, yeah, don't even try doing a outside pass around this corner. It is very risky. You'll have to slow down extra, which then the car on the inside has extra speed and he'll just end up passing you anyway. So there's no real point trying to make a pass in this corner for multi-class. You'll just usually end up in the grass and into the barrier and then need repairs. So coming back to this corner, you can see here, 2 left tires almost in the grass here. And you can see the cars just drifting like crazy. It's really fun, to be honest. It's a little scary at the same time, but it's quite fun on exit here when the compression hits down the hill and it starts going back up again. The car just slides like crazy. So 2 things, you can either play with it, keeping the throttle in, or you can kind of slowly ease off the throttle. That way your tires don't spin as much. It is a little bit better for lap time typically, but I found with this corner specifically, lap time, it didn't matter. It was just get me that rotation and floor it and just counter steer, because this straightaway is so short. You're not really losing much down the next straightaway. If there was a big straightaway coming out of this corner, then I would say the other way around is I try to limit that slip. But because there's such a little difference, you're going to gain that initial rotation speed, and then down the straightaway, you won't lose as much top end to make up for the difference. So I would just counter steer and keep it floored in this specific scenario. Coming over to this next corner here, keep in mind all cars are going to be going straight to the left. So if you are behind a car, you can expect this car to go left. So either try to send it up the inside or stay behind them. BMW middle class, honestly, right here, your best bet is to just stay behind whatever car's in front of you. Unless you're fighting in the same car class, then you guys know what your braking distances are. But if you're coming up on a GR86, at the top of turn 2 all the way down to here, you're almost better off just staying behind them and then getting them on this next little straightaway. Because they're going to come straight over across, and if you try to dive the inside, they brake later than you. Most likely, issues might happen. You never know, but it isn't the ideal passing scenario for the BMW M2. So for yourself on a quality lap, you're going to come across. There isn't a huge amount of braking references for this one. I tend to use the squiggly lines of tire marks. There's also this billboard here. Kind of where the squiggly lines start and the billboard kind of comes out of your A pillar. I'm starting to get off the throttle and onto the brakes. Probably one of the more aggressive spots for braking. Not overly aggressive, but I would say probably 65, 70% on brakes here. Arcing it nice and wide. And as you're getting on the brakes coming into this corner, the rear end likes to step out on entry, which is kind of good for you. It definitely helps turn in here because there's a weird camber into this corner, and then at the apex is at like a crest of a hill, and then it drops off and it's off camber. So you want to try to stick like a late apex on this one so that you're using the camber to your advantage. And when you cross over the apex and you cross over that hill point, the drop off, it is now stuck to the inside as much as possible, so you have as much track to kind of play with that off cambered kind of drop off type thing. So I'm starting out nice and wide. Again, look at this concrete. It's super easy visual. 2 left tires on the concrete, 2 right tires on the asphalt. And I'm going to follow the arc of this corner here with this concrete patch. Trail braking at first, but a lot of coasting as well. And then as you start seeing the crest of this hill, the concrete starts kind of coming towards the apex. You pretty much follow that. And right about the top of the hill, you can see there's elevation change here. It starts going up and then it drops. That's exactly where the apex is for this corner. So you see here, pretty much right here. So when these rental sales service here, at the beginning of this rental sales service, that's pretty much where the apex is. So if you look straight across, there's like a little brown patch of grass. That's where the track starts dropping off, and you can see the concrete patch starts to open up a little bit. That's where I like to be, to the inside of here as much as possible. I'm already getting on the throttle, using it to rotate, and then as it gets over the apex, it'll just naturally want to track out because of the camber, goes off camber. And you can see here, I'm just seesawing on the wheel with the full throttle, trying to get myself turned with the throttle and putting as little input in the steering wheel as possible, tracking out as wide as possible. That way I can get as much speed on this one. This straightaway here is not a very long one, but it is long enough that you could probably get by 1 or 2 GR86s, depending on how well you got out on exit and depending on where they were fighting, all that stuff. As far as GT4s, they can probably get by you here, probably 2 or 3 at a time. But keep in mind, the natural line is going straight across the track. So you'll want to watch your mirrors, make sure that nobody's kind of beside you, or if you see a GR86 in front of you, typically they will go track wide open. So either stay to the inside, or if you see that they're staying to the inside, then come around the outside. This next corner is a very interesting one. It should be kind of single file, but let's see. So we're going across the track. This is for quality, obviously. You're going to start, again, you can see me loading up the tires here before the corner. So I'm starting to turn in left as I'm kind of going across the track. Before I get to the edge of the track, I'm going to start going left, so that way my tires fall into that nice slip angle, and that gives me that extra entry speed kind of grip. So loading up the tires, starting to turn in a little bit more aggressive now. I want to try to get as close. You're going to have to get off the throttle of this car. So most cars, no, that's not most cars. So GRD6s, I don't believe you have to get off the throttle very much. Just kind of as you get close to this first apex, and then you get back on throttle. This car here, you are definitely, as you're turning in, you're getting off throttle pretty aggressively. Get that weight on the front end, and then you're going to slowly kind of pick it up and then back off. Even I had to do a little bit of braking, so that second kind of on throttle is probably not needed here. I could have probably just coasted. I want to get as close to this curb as possible, especially on the second part, so this second curb here. With this one here, it's fine to be within half a car's length. And then the second one here, you want to get as close as possible. I'm just monitoring my throttle because I'm trying to get as close to this curb as possible. You can see I'm getting over this curb, and I'm kind of using it like a rain gutter here. Do I do far chase? So you can see here, I'm getting on this part and even putting my left tire kind of over it. So it's kind of like I don't know if anybody watches Initial D, but it's almost like an Initial D, putting my left tire over the curb or the rain gutter. Let's go back to cockpit. So I want to use that just to try to help me stay to the left here. And I'm going to stay all the way to the left coming out of this corner. Monitoring the throttle. I can get back on throttle occasionally. That helps me turn the car. And then as soon as I get my car kind of turned, pointing in the right direction, I want to straighten out towards the left and then get pretty damn heavy on the brakes. In fact, I'm doing 100% here. Not for long. Again, I'm slowly kind of, that initial turn, you can see I'm already starting to load the tires, get that slip angle off. I want a wide entry on this one. Here's that concrete patch again. So left tire is just touching the concrete patch, right tire is off of it. Don't touch this curb because it'll push you wide. Ideally, you want to get most of your braking done before this crest. You'll get slightly, like you'll see, I back off the brakes a little bit here over the crest. And I start kind of just lightly get back on after I get over that kind of crest. Because that crest definitely upsets the car quite a bit. And if you stay on the brakes, the car acts really weird. So it's just better to just ease off the brakes, coast a little bit as you get up that crest. And you can see when you're kind of on the crest because all of a sudden the candy cane curbs here will start appearing. So you know that, okay, I'm kind of over that crest a little bit. I can just slightly get on the brakes again. And you're just going to want to use those brakes to get that rear end out. And then as I feel I've got the grip, I can get off the brakes completely and kind of start building that throttle up because I want to try to get my left-hand tires on this concrete again. You can see here I'm just building it and then I'm backing it off. I just want to make sure I can get my left tires on this concrete patch, the rights on the asphalt, and I want to get as close to this curb as possible to get myself as much traction. You can see there's a lot of camber kind of down here. So I want to get as close to it without touching it, or just a slight touch of it, to get myself a nice run out of this corner. This is a super important corner because there's a big long straightaway on the back. So if you're doing multi-class here, uh, if somebody is on your inside or your outside, I would highly suggest let them go. Whatever they're doing, if they're out on your inside here, lift a little bit earlier, try to tuck in behind them, because getting down that straightaway is literally the most important part of this track. If you have anybody near you, they're going to get a big draft off you. So you want to maximize your corner exit as much as possible. So however you need to do it, if you need to let people by, if you are passing somebody and you are on the inside, you better hope they let you by, because if you compromise your apex of the second part of Moss Corner, you're going to be very compromised down the next straightaway here. And 2x2, while coming on this crest here, often results in one car. You can see my car. I've got grip here, and then as I crest, all of a sudden I am floating to the left here, big time. So if there's a car on your outside, I'm floating into them, and they're going off. We're both going off, most likely into that wall. It's not an ideal situation in 2x2 for this one. You're way better off losing half a second or a second, letting the other car go, or staying behind a car, and then maximizing your exit. So all the way out wide again, then cutting down, trying to get the best exit as possible. Let's see how close I get to those curbs. So you can see I just touch it. That is ideal situation. You want to just kiss it with that right front. And again, your left tire's on this. Not chase view. Let's go back to cockpit. You can run wide with this one. Just make sure you get back on the track before the grass. So you can put two left tires over this curb, get back on track before this grass. There's an off track here. And if you've done it right, you'll maximize your exit for this one, and you'll get a nice long straightaway to pass however many GRD6s you need to pass, or for GT4s to go flying by you, or for you to pass another BMW. Be aware that the line here, if you're on a qualifying, stay to the left on exit, and then you slowly track across the track to the right. If you are passing cars, be aware that's the natural line is to stay left here and then gradually go across. So if you see a GRD6 here slowly coming across, if you dive to the inside, I mean, don't not dive because you're just accelerating. If you go to the inside, make it well known early. So that way they see what you're doing and they can adjust accordingly. If you stay to the left and they start tracking to the right, you can easily just stay to the left and pass them on the left. Same with GT4s. If you see them popping out to your right, don't keep going right. Just stay to the left, let them all pass, and then get behind. Showing your intentions is always going to save everybody. So if you move and stick to it, but if you see somebody dive to your, like if you see somebody intentionally moving to the right early, because usually you have enough time here. Coming out of this corner, obviously you're going to be to the left, and there's enough time to pick up speed that a GT4 will pop right and show their intentions fairly early. Or if you are doing it on a GRD6, you have enough time to pop out right to show your intentions early. So it shouldn't be too much confusion with this one. Down the straightaway, like I said, you're tracking to the right. That's really loud. Tracking to the right, you're coming all the way across this big long straightaway. You can easily get by a bunch of people if you need to, or a bunch of people get by you. Staying to the right here, Canadian Tire. Still staying to the right. Right here, you're going to start tracking to the left. So if you see still a bunch of GT4s coming at you, maybe stick to the right. Don't just go in front of them. If there's a bunch of GRD6s and they're battling, come over to the left here. They might stick to the right. If they stick to the left, you can go to the right. Um, just make it well known what your intentions are. If you're getting close, um, this is a great section here. So coming over this crest, the next three corners. So there's a right, a left, and a right before they start straightaway. These sections are fantastic double wide corners. You can really set up a corner well, and you can use both the inside or the outside to try to get an advantage through the following corners. Um, if you go back and watch the SCEL award ceremony, the GRD6s had an amazing battle through this section, but any car can do the same. GT4s, BMW M2s. This is a really great section to have some side-by-side battles, as long as you guys have respect and keep in mind that there's two cars there, and you guys give each other room on entry and exit. It's a fantastic track to do side by side. So qualifying, these posts are great markers. So 1, 2, 3. Typically the third one here, I'm going to start braking. Again, I'm nice and wide here. I'm already starting to load up that slip angle of the tires. I'm going to go down in fourth gear for this one from fifth to fourth. See, braking, not super hard. You can see the rear end is already sneaking out here because I was doing that right hand tire slip angle thing. An ideal line through this one here is you kind of want to be a car's length away from this first curb. Then you track out a little bit wider. And then as you're coming back across, you're going to get right on the right hand curb. Multi-line, if you're a car on the outside here, make sure you're giving this first car on the entry some space. Try to hold on as long as possible on the outside, because if you can hold on, you can get on the inside for the following corner and potentially get an advantage coming out of it. There's lots of cool ways to battle through these corners, so it's fun to explore. If you have somebody you can test things out with, I recommend turning damage off, doing a lot of practice, and just going for it with the damage off, trying as hard as possible to pass people here. Even in the practice session on the Thursday, go for it. Practice as hard as you can, because these three corners are awesome for side-by-side battling. Again, back to the quality here. I'm a car's width away or a car's width away from this first curb. Tracking out to the left, still getting on the brakes, but very light because this car is going to want to kill you. The rear end's going to want to step out quite a bit. Just slowly trail braking, and then again, you can see the concrete patch here. Left tires on the concrete patch, right on the asphalt. I'm already starting to get on throttle. Fourth gear, I'm using it. You can see they're steering. What I want to do is I want to get two right tires on this curb. I am going to jump this section. So I want my right tires as far to the right as possible. I'm going to jump this curb, kind of land it on the asphalt, because I want to open up this next corner as much as possible so that I can get to the left. So you'll see here, I jump off, car gets upset a little bit. As soon as I kind of land, I'm getting on the brakes. I want to slow up, staying in fourth. I want to start turning in. Again, you're going to have two right tires on this concrete patch, two left tires on the asphalt. Again, with this one, I kind of like going up on the curb. It's not necessary. You can kind of stay to the inside or just barely touching it. But I like to try to open up as much as possible. So I'm jumping off the curb again. And I'm coming immediately over to the left. As I'm kind of recovering from jumping off here, you'll see my car is going left. I'll downshift and brake a little bit. near these Audi S corners. And then I go down to third gear, and again, I'm going to put my 2 left tires in this concrete patch and 2 right tires on the right of that. So you can see here, car's oversteering a little bit. I'm going to get off the throttle, onto the brakes, use that kind of oversteer momentum that I'm using while braking. Now it's a pretty late turn in for this one. You can see initially all 4 tires are pretty much on the concrete patch, and then I slowly come back off of it. So initially, I want to try to late apex up this one as much as possible because there's a straightaway on the next corner, right? So where are you going to gain as much time? You won't gain that much time on entry, but you'll lose a lot of time on exit if you miss the exit. So I prioritize the exit for this corner. You can see here, third gear, just missed this curb. You don't really want to touch this one because it's going to push you to the left. So you want to get as close as possible, kind of a late apex, as close as possible to it without touching it. Let's see. So I'm, yeah, just barely touching it. I would have preferred to not touch it, to be honest. This was maybe a little bit too much. So it's probably a little bit of time to gain here, but honestly, that's not that big a deal. So again, third gear, you're powering it up. 2 left tires, concrete, and now I'm coming over to the left here. You can see the car's oversteering. I'm just playing with the steering. And then I want to naturally come out 2 left tires over the candy stripes onto this concrete patch or the asphalt here, and then slowly get back on the corner. And that is a 128.112. So I'm going to play this lap again from the fire chase without any commentary so you guys can see exactly what I did from the fire chase view. And there you go. There's a 128.112. I just realized that I forgot to talk about this corner here. So if you guys are side by side through this section here, if you're the car on the outside, if you can manage to hold on here, you've got the inside line for this following corner. If you really kind of push the entry a little bit, you tend to maybe almost be able to get not ahead of them through the entry to the corner, but you tend to carry enough speed that you get him on the exit, and you might be able to clear them. Same with the car on the outside. If you can stay with this car on the inside through kind of the entry through this one, if you can stay with some overlap, if you can hold on to it, you can definitely stay to the inside for the following corner, and then you've got the advantage. But saying that, the car on the outside coming out of this corner tends to have the better advantage. So I typically, if I'm going to set up passes, I like to try to stay to the outside for this corner. And it's hard. If you can manage to stay beside them through this sector here and still keep some overlap, once you get to this point, if you still have overlap with the other car beside you, This car is now most likely going to have the advantage because they can go to the inside here, and then they can set up nicely for a late turn in for this one, and they tend to get the advantage coming down the next sector here, whereas this car has kind of been restricted to the inside, and they'll lose speed coming out of this corner, and then they're just slowly losing speed while this car has the outside advantage, and they'll gain speed through this straightaway. And then they typically get ahead of the other car before turn one. So that's my little extra for that kind of sector. I love this track. It's so much fun. Uh, there's a lot of great side-by-side battling that can happen here. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this track guide. This is a BMW at Mosport for round 3.